What up, footballers? It's Wednesday, you know what that means. Let's stream. Got a lot to talk to you today about. We're going to be talking Chicago Fire selling John Jader Duran over to Aston Villa. We'll also be talking Swiss-made watches and what makes them so special. And they might have found Atlantis. What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you are all having a fantastic week. Thank you for joining us here on Spittin' Fire. What John Duran brings to Aston Villa and what this transfer means for MLS by Jonathan Seagal. Last October, Chicago Fire FC head coach Ezra Hendrickson described striker John Duran. Pardon me, I'm going to lower this music here for a second. Head coach Ezra Hendrickson described striker John Duran as a really, really special player, one who's going places in the global game. Ezra Hendrickson wasn't kidding. As the Major League Soccer world woke up one Monday morning, English Premier League side Aston Villa announced they've agreed on a transfer to acquire the 19-year-old Colombian wonder kid. The fee can reportedly reach $22 million. $18 million is currently guaranteed, so risers for another $4 million there. A total that's tied for the second most expensive outbound transfer in MLS history. While the deal isn't technically 100% finalized, a completed medical, personal terms, and a work visa remain, it's expected to soon reach the finish line. Editor's note: Chicago formally announced the move Tuesday afternoon. So what does Duran bring to Aston Villa? What does this move mean for MLS as a whole? Let's tackle all there is to know about this groundbreaking news. Who is John Duran? John Jader Duran, who can play centrally or out wide, was initially acquired by Chicago in January 2021 from Colombian top-flight side Envigado FC for a reported $2.5 million transfer fees. But since he was 17, he couldn't officially be rostered in MLS until he turned 18 ahead of the 2022 season. At the time, Duran was also the youngest international signing in MLS history. Despite his now lucrative transfer fee, Duran didn't fully break into Chicago's lineup until mid-July. But once he did, it was a question of why he wasn't featuring sooner and more prominently. Ultimately finishing the 2022 campaign, his only one in MLS, mind you, with 8 goals and 3 assists in 1,363 minutes. About 27 appearances, 14 starts, 8 goals, 3 assists, to recap. That form quickly turned Duran from a promising South American talent into a potential solution at striker for Colombia, who narrowly missed out on qualifying for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. He already has 3 senior caps for La Tricolor and is a key piece of their South American U20 championship roster. He projects as a key part of Colombia's new generation. Given all he's accomplished, it's no surprise Duran placed on the Guardian's next generation list of 2020, a group of 60 of the best young talents in world soccer. So, what's his profile? What is he compared to? Once Duran gets going in the open field, look out. The 19-year-old is a bit raw in some areas. His combination play and defensive spots come to mind, but his goal front instincts and physical profile are a handful for opposing defenders. They can't handle his speed. His bursts coming from the midline. He has the power and strength to compete in the Premier League, perhaps early on for Aston Villa, and has the inventiveness, technique to turn on a half chance into a clinical finish. Duran makes strong, hard runs in a variety of attacking situations, the type that get rewarded more often than not. It's easy to see why the likes of Benfica and Liverpool were reportedly kicking the tires of the Chicago Fire, and linked to the Colombian talent whose skill set and playing style sparked visions of AS Roma's Tammy Abraham, Bayer Leverkusen's Patrick Schick, and Monaco's Breel Embolo. That's not to assert those well-established strikers provide a foolproof comparison, but their games offer a sense of what Duran could bring to Aston Villa. And of course, early on in that article where they're talking about the 60 best wonder kids, that's where they actually compared him initially to Lukaku. What do I think? He is fast, he can run. I'm seeing more Mbappe. But not a true Mbappe. Mbappe is like a 10 playing anywhere. But you want to get the ball to this guy's feet at the number 9 position. Especially if you could get it when you're all at the half and half, say it's coming on a counter. He can spring past these defenders and just like a lightning bolt. Don't know what that is, chat. Trying to figure out something here. There's what is this? What is this? I got like a weird red dot on my screen. I don't know what this is. Trying to figure this out here. Oh, okay, I figured it out. It's this thing. Oh, got something up there. All right, cool. I don't have to worry about that. In fact, can I just make that? I can. 50. All right. That's not to assert those well-established strikers provide that foolproof comparison, but their games do offer a sense of what Duran could bring to Aston Villa. When looking at MLS as a whole, Duran compares quite favorably, at least in expected goals terms, to some of the biggest names in the league. Brought a smaller sample size, but the potential clearly put him on the scouting radar of high-profile clubs. Take a look at this. There's Vela, Duran, Driussi, Hernandez, Arango, Mukhtar. And the thing is, he's so young, and he was doing it with the Chicago Fire, who were not a good team. Wait, how much money? Duran, according to Transfermarkt, is the 14th most expensive incoming signing in Aston Villa history. His price tag isn't necessarily surprising for a Premier League club of their spending power and transfer history, especially as they've acquired some attacking centers pieces like Emiliano Buendia and Liam Bailey, as 2 examples, in recent transfer windows for roughly double of what Duran reportedly cost. But European teams know there are deals to be found in MLS, and its players can translate to top 5 leagues. That $22 million transfer fee, in terms of the most expensive outgoing deals in MLS history, puts Duran tied with Bayern Munich left back Alphonso Davies, and just behind Newcastle United attacker Miguel Almiron. Pretty good company to keep. Right there, Miguel Almiron for $26 million. It's from Tom Bogert. Alphonso Davies and Duran for 22, Ricardo Pepi for 20, Pity Martinez for 18. Chicago, somewhat under the radar, are also becoming a bit more of a selling club. Here are the deals that they've secured in the last few transfer windows. John Duran, $22 million. Gaga Slonina, $15 million to Chelsea. Przemysław Frankowski, $3 million to RC Lens. Georgi Mihailovic, $6 million to AZ Alkmaar, and because they're getting a 10% cut from Montreal's deal from that. So it makes me wonder if Georg Heitz is actually going to be locked in to the Chicago Fire at the GM helm for the foreseeable future, or perhaps elevated into maybe a different position. But the facts of the remain facts is that he is bringing in money for Joe Mansueto. He's returning on investment in some ways that other teams in the league would love to. I mean, 22 plus 15 million just for those 2 players in Gago and John Duran. He was more responsible for bringing in John Duran. Gago Slonina was not one he was responsible for, but the fact that he's going to have John Duran in his cap along with Gaga Slonina being sold under his watch, under his tutelage, that's going to count for something. Doing some quick back of the napkin math on the reported figures. That's just north of $40 million in transfer fees. The Fire directly sold 2 teenage talents, 1 homegrown and 1 from abroad, 2 EPL teams, an established Polish international to a League One contender in Przemysław Frykowski, and got a sell-on fee for a homegrown product heading to a top Eredivisie team, all in the last 18 months or so. Again, MLS clubs are becoming bigger players in the global transfer market with each passing window. This trend isn't slowing down anytime soon, especially with the World Cup coming to the USA, Mexico, and Canada in 2026. Well, what about the U22 initiative aspect? Well, for those who don't know, MLS is in April 2021, it launched an U2022 initiative to support further investment in young players. It's still a relatively new roster mechanism, one where the clubs are signing players about age 22 or younger to lucrative contracts at a reduced budget charge. That's the key, the kicker though. Reduced budget charge. You're getting to sign these more expensive, better players for cheaper on the books. And that always helps for them, these GMs who want to squeeze every penny they can out of these MLS rosters. And with these weird MLS rules where you can only have 3 designated players, 3 top paid players, and you have to work in everybody else with all the extra funny money, the GAM and the TAM that you got left. But without getting too far into the weeds of MLS roster rules, teams can sign up for up to 3 U22 initiative players, depending on their designated player situation. If they have 2 DPs and a 3rd young DP, that makes it so they could use all 3 of these U22 initiative players. If they have 3 older DPs, then they cannot access at least one of these U22 initiative player budget allocation savers, basically. So they wouldn't be able to go get maybe a super good kid, take a chance on, and have him turned into something like Duran for that, because they are fielding 3 senior DPs. But that's the price you pay. But you don't have to. You can field 2 senior DPs and 1 young DP like the Chicago Fire are doing, because they have their young Mexican talent is our young DP. Fire roster. As you can tell, Jairo Torres. He's so good, I can't even remember his name. But what's funny is he costs more than John Duran. And John Duran's going for 22 million. I don't think that Jairo Torres is going to be going for that, at least at the moment. Right. Sometimes U22 signings are homegrowns who are rewarded with a new contract, but often they're imports, like Duran, an area that's worth providing extra context around. Duran isn't the first U22 initiative signing to be sold abroad by an MLS club. Colorado Rapids gave homegrown left back Sam Vines this type of contract before he was sold to Belgium's Royal Antwerp. And FC Dallas transferred winger Schalbach Schoen to Hungary's first division. There have been some loans. LAFC midfielder Francisco Janela is at Uruguayan champions Nacional, and Vancouver Whitecaps FC midfielder Kai Alexandre is at Brazilian top flight side Fortaleza. But the transfer fee Duran commanded represents a whole new frontier, a proof of concept for what the U22 initiative can become. Chicago acquired the top talent from South America who became their top goal scorer, then sold him for nearly 9x profit, 9 times profit to a well-established Premier League team. It's a fantastic bit of business. But also, I don't know how regular you can make that happen. Not everybody has been able to go and find the Durans and the Almirons and the Alphonso Davies, right? Have to get luck plays into it for sure. Scouting. There will likely be more U22 initiative sales in the Duran mode. LFC midfielder Jose Cifuentes and LA Galaxy, Julian Araujo, San Jose Earthquakes forward Kid Cowell are all reportedly generating transfer interest across the world, but none so far as notable as Duran's pathway. Quick add-on, MLS teams aren't just signing South American talents in the U22 initiative mold. Atlanta United midfielder Thiago Almada, the first ever active MLS World Cup winner, and NYCFC forward Thales Magno are both DPs who could realistically secure lucrative moves abroad sooner rather than later. But again, Duran's U22 initiative classification is especially notable for where MLS is going. MLS 4.0, as we talked about in this podcast. Of course, nice little tweet here from newly freed from ESPN Taylor Twellman. Fantastic bit of business for Chicago Fire, selling Duran for 18 mil to Aston Villa plus add-ons. Only 19 years old, but has the profile to be something special. MLS continue to improve their status in the world market. MLS. But what's next? For Aston Villa, it's getting the deal completely over the finish line, and then determining when Duran fully gets integrated. They're currently 11th in the league in Premier League standings, boosted by manager Unai Emery joining in late October, and with established strikers Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins leading the line. For Chicago, it's identifying a striker or two that they can acquire to play alongside DP's Jairo Torres and Jordan Shaqiri. Their 39 goals scored were the second worst in MLS in the 2022 campaign, and albeit it was Hendrickson's first year in charge. As great as Duran was on a personal level, the club needs to find final third solutions in seeking their first Audi MLS Club Cup playoffs trip since 2017. For the rest of us, it's watching what Duran can accomplish in arguably the world's top league, the Premier League. The transfer market often moves quickly, especially when it comes to young talents like the one Fire identified and helped develop. It was quite the little transfer saga as well. Sitting here as a fan, as we were asking, will they, won't they? As the price went up on Duran, we were hearing 15 million, we were hearing 18 million, and in my head, I'm like, they can't really let him go for anything but around 20 million. And it sounds like they hit that with this 18 plus 4 modifier, this plus 4 add-on. And is he likely to get those? I think so. He's a talented player. We did not see the best of John Duran here in Chicago. We got a limited glimpse of what the greatness was. But I'll tell you this, when that greatness flashed, every Chicago fan took notice. Every fan. It was one of those things where last season, where I noticed something, and it was this key game, and it was the arrival of Duran, basically. Boom. I thought a flip switch in the Chicago Fire. It wasn't a flip switching in the Chicago Fire. It was a flip switching in John Jader Duran on an individual basis, and I can't wait to see the future of this kid over in the English Premiership, over for Aston Villa, who's now going to be a team that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be paying attention to a little bit more. I'm going to be seeing what John Jader Duran is up to from the Chicago Fire. It's going to be pretty awesome to have somebody over in the Premier League to be able to check in on in that capacity. It's been a long time for that. When's the last time the Chicago Fire had a player go from them, the Fire, to the Premier League? I remember Bastian Schweinsteiger came from the Premier League to the Fire, but I can't recall of a time when a Fire player went to the Premier League. And of course, we do also have Georgi Mihailovic, hometown Chicago hero, playing over in the Eredivisie to look forward to as well, for some European soccer play for some former Chicago Fire players. Exciting times. And as well as Gaga Slonina over at Chelsea, who got to start for the U19s, the U21s the other day. And of course, what did he do? Logged a shutout, just like he ever would. Exciting times for Chicago Fire players. Will it mean more exciting times for Chicago Fire fans? Will it mean more success this season for Ezra Hendrickson and the men in red? That remains yet to be seen. What Ezra Hendrickson's program seems, though, it seems to be developing. We saw flashes of that development last year. However, as this article hints at, and we've talked about this podcast often, on this live stream often with our friends DPG and FC Tokyo, it's what the Fire can they build on that? Do they have the roster to build on it? And is stripping out one of its best pieces in John Jader Duran one of the bright spots, and Gaga Slonina perhaps the brightest spot last year anyway? I mean, with all his clean sheets and his ability to keep the team in the game. Where are these wins going to come from? Where are these goals going to come from? Or are we just dreaming here as Chicago Fire fans? There is a lot to be concerned for, because Kasper Przybyłko did not bring the goals last year, and but Gaga Slonina did bring the clean sheets. Will Chris Brady, who's going to be put in a very similar position to succeed and also or fail as Gaga Slonina was, as he's going to be a young 18-20-year-old kid coming in and starting for an MLS team, a professional team, and expected to produce results, to produce clean sheets, to get wins just like Gaga Slonina did. A lot of pressure for that kid. A lot of pressure for this team. Excited to see it. Kick that like button, everybody. Comment below. Where do you guys think the Chicago Fire are going to end up this season? Having just sold arguably two of their best talents in Gaga Slonina and John Jader Duran. Of course, Jordan Shaqiri is still here. Jairo Torres still here. I will put it on Discord. I'm not planning on talking Chicago Fire all night. I got a little bit of a show planned, but here we go. I'm slipping on Discord. Looks like DPG was sliding in. I was just closing down the chat on Fire, but if you got a little MLS to go for, slide into the Discord. It is wide open.